Um, sorry.
Hi.
So many questions, but the first one that I had, and again, I've learned so much today, so many brands that, I was previously unfamiliar with coming into, but then like during our pre-call, I realized like, you guys have built something really special. And by that, I mean your brand purpose and everything that's kind of gone into Truist. But before we get there, can you give us background on Truist? Like, how did it come to be?
Absolutely. Well, let me just take a poll. Does anyone know who Truist is? Yes.
Okay, so I'm the odd man out. Sorry. Just out of
Well,
myself.
you're from the West Coast. We'll get there. So, yeah, I'm happy to talk about Truist. We're a new bank. We were formerly BB&T and SunTrust, and we've come together to become Truist. And we're building a new company, and it's super exciting, and it's fabulous to see so many hands raised in the room. When I asked that, it's a dangerous question to ask for a new brand, right? Because there could have been no hands up, and that would have been really sad. But the marketing team has been hard at work to build the brand. And so, the journey that we've been on is, it started with an announcement on a random morning that we were merging, right? SunTrust and BB&T were going to come together, and it would be a merger of equals. And we immediately jumped on an opportunity to find a partner who could help us on the journey of figuring out, like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to be? Do we keep one of the heritage company names? Do we start a new bank? What do we do? And so we spent many months working on, research and insights and trying to understand, based on the heritage company purpose and culture, what did teammates think we needed to lean into to figure out, like, what is the right brand name? What are the right colors? What's the monogram? What's the brand architecture? I've heard some of you guys talk about that stuff today here. And so we landed on the name Truist. And what's behind that is, the T's, right? Truist, the T starts with a T and ends with a T. And we're about technology and touch. And what comes within that is trust. And then you've got the U and the I, which is the we, right? So there are some really special meanings to Truist for us at the company. You don't hear us talk about that in our marketing, but when you look at our culture and you look at our purpose, inspiring and building better lives and communities, and you understand to us, 55,000 teammates, what does that mean? It's really special. And so it's been exciting to see the brand come to life out in the world, especially with our last conversion in February. That was the time when we said, there will be no more heritage company branding. We are a new company. And so it was fun in social media for our team to start to see people tweeting and talking about, I woke up today and everywhere I go, I'm seeing this purple logo with this thing, Truist. Like, what's Truist? Where'd it come from? So it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are a purpose-led, purpose-driven company at the core.
Yes.
To the core, I should
Yes.
say. Can you tell us a little bit about Truist's purpose, and then how do you sort of live and breathe that every day in a way that every employee feels it, right, within the culture of the organization?
Yeah. We're, I will say, I feel very fortunate, and I think most of our teammates do too, to work for a purpose-driven company. That's really unique and special, and to know that that is what Truist is founded on. I mean, both of our heritage companies stood for something bigger, right? SunTrust was lighting the way to financial well-being, and to be able to keep the purpose and bring it to life in a unique way as Truist, as a bank, one of the only financial services companies that we know of that are purpose-driven. It gives our teammates a North Star. It gives us something to focus on that's bigger than banking, that's more than cashing a check, that's more than opening a mortgage. It's about helping someone have a home, right? It's helping to create the financial means for people to have the fabulous products and services that we've heard the other wonderful marketers talk about today, right? A bank, we're not as fortunate to have all the great things that you can touch and experience every day. You've got your card, you've got your mobile app, you've got an in-branch experience, but where we can be out in the communities and where we can be really bringing our purpose to life and inspiring and building better lives and communities and leaning into our platform around care is something that we're really focused on. Care is one of our values. So when we launched Truist, we created, of course, our purpose, our mission, our vision, and our set of core values. And one of them is about care. And so in our external expression of our purpose, you'll see us talk about care and what that means in the world and how we leverage the power of care to change lives, how care is embedded in everything that we do, from the products that we create to how we engage with people and interact with them, whether it's in the bank or on the phone or in the mobile app, even in meetings, inside marketing and other parts of the company. We'll ask the question, is this an expression of care? Is this really elevating our purpose around inspiring and building better lives and communities? And if not, then we need to rethink, why are we doing it? So working for a purpose-driven company it's an incredible opportunity.
All right, I want to go back for 1 second and talk about the social channels. I think when we did the pre-call, you said there were something like 32 that had to get totally sunset. Was that hard to pull the plug on?
It's a piece of cake.
No. Take us through seriously. Take us through the transition. Like, how does that happen? When you guys ultimately make that decision, what's the strategy behind, kind of building these new channels from the ground up,
Yeah, that's a great question. Something I love to talk about, and so much credit to our team, our social media and influencer marketing team. I mean, when we came together through the merger process, we were a very small team. I mean, I think at one point we had like 6 people. And yes, we had 32 plus social media pages. So we were managing social media for 3 companies. Really, we had SunTrust, BB&T, and Truist. And because we were in merger mode, we weren't hiring, right? We needed to bring everyone together. We needed to sort of level set and figure out how many people do we really need to do this thing and do it well. So, three of my incredible social media managers are here today, and they just crushed it. There was a lot to be done. We had a wonderful opportunity to start fresh, right? So over the years, so many brands, like think about if you've been in the social media world or even just in marketing, there was a time when you were creating a social media page for every single campaign, right? Like, oh, we're going to do this. Let's go make an Instagram. We're going to do this campaign. Let's go make a Twitter account for it. And so for many financial services companies, especially, they have a lot of social media pages, and we did it Truist and BB&T. So having the opportunity to kind of start fresh and build out the Truist ecosystem and really align to the ever-changing world of social and focus or really lean into audiences and creative and not have to build a social media page for every single campaign is really unique and special for us. So now we have 8, which is incredible. And we're really, like I said, we're trying to create awareness of the Truist brand. So while we have many different portfolios or segments, groups within the company, we've got our core banking, we've got wealth, we've got our B2B world. And within that is all the things, you've got mortgages and you've got credit cards and you've got so many different products and services. We lead with Truist and we design content that's right for the audience. So it's about making the right creative and the right message and finding the right audience, but leading from the Truist branded social pages rather than creating a page for every new initiative that comes through the bank, including things like Truist Foundation. It's a separate entity, but it is connected to the brand. I think it's a good example of a group that said, we need our own social media, and we're like, why? What are you going to do? What's your content strategy? Do you have money to pay for it? Because and then they're kind of like, oh yeah, okay. We'd rather use our money to help people in communities than put it into marketing. So we help them understand that there are other ways that we can help you get the message out about Truist Foundation. You don't need to have a set of your own social media pages. So really leaning into the audience and creative is helping us to keep it at 8 for now.
I was going to say, I'm sure your team's pretty happy about that. 8. In terms of like an audience first approach to creative content, social channels, all that stuff we talked about, you've heard it kind of all day, right? Yeah. Like to me, and again, creative background, right? So like one of the tenets that I think about when I think about, audience first is creating content specifically for the platform that an audience is going to be on, right? You're not taking a TV commercial and resizing it, right, for TikTok and praying that it works. So within that context, how do you guys approach content creation? How are you thinking about, an audience or first approach for, all of the work?
Those days, I think we've all been there, right? Of let's say somebody went and made a TV commercial, go stick that in social media for us, right? I mean, we've all been there as marketers, and maybe some of you are the TV creators who say stick it in social media, and that's okay. Sometimes that works, right? There was a time when it really wasn't a question of whether it was going to work or not. It was we invested the money in this TV commercial and we want to put it everywhere. And so we're really kind of trying to start fresh and really focus on making sure that we are being really smart about the content we create and where we place it. We're really trying to be smart about understanding who our audiences are and where they are, and then designing creative and content that makes sense for that platform experience. So when you're on TikTok, you're going to have a very different experience than you will if you're on LinkedIn. And so taking a video asset that's designed for TV and just putting it everywhere, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And, at a time when we're all trying to be super intentional about cost, efficiency, and effectiveness, really trying to lean into that audience first strategy. I mean, we are being adamant about starting with a media plan. Know who your audience is, know where they are, and then understand what are the nuances of that social platform, and then begin creative design and design for the platform. So, we actually launched our first videos on TikTok yesterday, and today we have 6. They're organic, thank you. But if you have a chance to look at them, it's going to be very unexpected. Our social media team created them, and it's them in the videos. It's a mix of content creator and social team, but having a CMO and a brand marketing leadership team that believes in this sort of strategy and empowers and enables us to kind of go do this stuff is really, it means a lot, and it gives us the opportunity to just really sort of prove the things that we're saying we believe work in today's environment.
I'm going to ask you for a second about your creator strategy. When it comes to making content and choosing who you're going to partner with, who's going to represent the brand, how do you make those decisions? Like what criteria are you looking for besides size and ability to connect authentically the customer base? I mean, how do you guys look at that? And how does kind of the audience first approach come into play with it?
Yeah, and I've loved listening to the other brand marketers today talk about sort of influencer and content creator partnerships. It's been really interesting to hear how different brands do this. And we, like with everything, when we start with our purpose, and when we look for influencer or content creator partner opportunities, we're looking for people who have a shared purpose with ours and shared brand values, who lean into this idea of care, who can find white space opportunities to talk about those things, because care is so big and broad, right? It can have so many meanings. And so how can we find people who believe in the message of care the way that we do and can talk about it the way that we do? And then also finding things for them to do. We also launched our holiday campaign today. So on social, you'll see we've got a care challenge. And so our influencer partners, our content creator partners, when we reach out to them for potential partnerships, we're giving them things that we'd like them to do, like, try this budget calculator and see if it helps you on your journey to, financial confidence, and talk about what that means in your life. When we look at partnerships with, even we have a partnership with the NFL, and when we look at NFL football players, we did a Beyond the Field series, and we asked these NFL players to talk about care. These are, big guys who are out there, on the field on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays. They're hitting people. They're, and they're talking about care. And it was really interesting when we did that with them, because it was something no one had ever asked them to do before, right? It was something they hadn't talked about before. It was an opportunity to talk about in your life, who showed care to you. Now you're an NFL player, and how does that inspire you to show care to others? And so many of them have created foundations and different organizations, and so to give them a special way to talk about that was something. and, leaning into our purpose, leaning into our message of care, and then giving them the freedom, these content creator partners and influencer partners, to create the content the way they want to create the content, right? And that's tough too, right? As a brand marketer, because we like things to be very polished and put together on brand guidelines. So when you ask a social media team to go make TikToks, or you ask content creator partners to go create content for you, you've got to have a little bit of leeway there and let them bring the content to life the way, bringing their authenticity and their unique way in, so that it does feel real.
Trust them, right?
You absolutely have to trust them. Yes.
Okay, more questions. When you guys think about who you aspire to, or just to get inspiration, and it could be within the category, outside the category, like we've got a bunch of brand marketers in the room today. Are there brands that you look at and you're like, I just get every time I see something exciting, or just anyone that you guys look to and you say this is kind of the North Star, really interested in kind of their strategy or the thinking behind their execution?
There are so many. I mean, but for us right now, really trying to stay laser focused on how we're bringing our purpose and our message of care to life. I mean, we're really looking at, not so much in the financial services industry, right? You can do that all day long, right? And it's just more of the same, right? It's a bank, right? At the end of the day, we all kind of are doing the same thing out there. So finding those big, highly regarded brands that stand for care, and trying to understand their unique way in and what that could look like for us. You think about Chick-fil-A, right? Little things, and their message of care. And you think about CVS and Tom's and Ritz-Carlton. I mean, these are all brands that are highly regarded that I'm sure you've all looked at before. I think we're just looking at them at a unique and different way now than we may have in the past, to understand how are they bringing care to life, and what could that look like at a bank. When we say we stand for care, when you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. How do you create experiences that are memorable, that are authentic and real, when they're not paying money for something that they're not walking out with a great, crystal burger, right? or the food saver, they don't get that and put it on their counter and get to use it every day. They're using their card, but how do you make that have more meaning? And how does the brand show the expression of care in everything we do to make banking easier and better, and to help people have, more financial wellness in their life?
Looking at it, purpose as a single execution.
Yes, and this starts at the top. Our CEO is a purpose-driven leader, and he walks the talk. Bill Rogers has been doing this for a long time, and this is top down. So, I know you probably keep hearing me say purpose over and over, like, okay, lady, we get it. But it's real. Like, it is real. It is part of who we are. It's embedded in the culture. We're not totally there yet. We're a new company. We've got a way to go, but Bill leads from the top, purpose-driven. He's even put out, personal purpose sort of, inspiration and education for teammates, so that 55,000 teammates can work on defining their purpose, so that every day when you come to work, you're not just sort of there and going through the motions. You're actually living your purpose and the purpose of the company.
Question. Marketing innovation. I have to ask everybody the same question. It's like a roll down the thing. What are you most excited about going into 2023, marketing innovation wise, or innovation you guys are working on at Truist? Space you guys are exploring? Anything interesting?
Well, we're always thinking about what's the next social media platform, right? Trying to keep up with that is, that's a task in and of itself. And then also keeping up with the platforms that we're currently on, and their constantly evolving capabilities. They're changing things all the time to make the social media experience better and different. And so trying to, as a brand, understand what those are and lean into those is really important. But and I know a couple of people have brought up metaverse, and it's someone called it ice cold, which, you know, it's one of those things where we are looking into what that, you know, what's it all about? And is there a role for a bank to play? Maybe not now, but maybe in a few years. Like when we look back at, like, think about apps. There was a time, you know, what, 10 years ago when people were like, oh my God, apps, no, nobody's going to put these on their phone. Nobody's going to use them. They don't want another app. And then QR codes, right? Who's going to use a QR code, right? Nobody's going to do that. Well, look at us now. I mean, we're everyone's got apps. We're using QR codes every time we go out to dinner. And, you know, the metaverse is one of those things that, you know, eventually it may be a place where there's a role for a bank. And so we're looking at the Braves, the Atlanta Braves. You know, they launched opening season with a metaverse experience, and you know, brands like Wendy's, they're there. And how can you create those experiences without the need for the goggles, right? Like, around with some augmented reality and Snapchat and done some really cool things there. But I think when my team is about and brand marketing is about marketing innovation and what I'm excited about, it's just really continuing to understand those opportunities and see, you know, what's out there. Is it an emerging, like, is there something that changes in the world that makes the adoption happen faster than we may have expected? And we want to be ready for that.
Somebody's got to provide mortgages for all the virtual real estate people are buying in the metaverse.
Can
So
you,
that can be
can
you
you
guys.
imagine?
Carve out your niche now.
Yeah.
Questions from the audience?
I'm in trouble.
One behind
got
you,
it.
and I'll make my way back. in this
Ashley and
direction.
I go way back.
So you guys launched the bank, right? Awesome. You also have this purpose-driven kind of belief, and at the same time, you're launching a brand new brand. Where does DEI kind of sit within that? Where does that sit?
That's a great question. You know, it's been really incredible to see the evolution of that at our new company. And I think, you know, someone mentioned, Ryan mentioned since 2020, like just sort of how that has evolved and what the focus has been, and to have a dedicated team inside the company who is helping us all to make sure that we've got that lens. And we have business resource groups at Truist where, you know, for different cultural affinities, people can join them. And then they have, you know, regular meetings and they do events. And so in brand marketing, we're tapped into those groups, and we're constantly looking to make sure that we are, you know, that we're considering everyone and all the things. I mean, we're a bank, right? Like, so we're trying to make sure that we're doing this right all the time. And it's so hard, especially on social media, you know, and creating content in that space. And I'm very lucky to have an amazing team who their eyes are on this stuff all the time, and they bring a unique point of view to every creative conversation. They're brave, they're courageous, they're not afraid to challenge and ask questions about marketing now. But you know, in my mind, you know, if my team knows, we talk about this, like we get to a place where we just don't need a team of people in the bank, a leadership team saying DEI, like you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do, and you're considering all cultures and all in those institution day, and that's winning.
So purpose is not antithesis to profit. But you're still responsible for KPIs. So how do you measure delivering on your purpose in social?
She'd ask me a really hard question like that. We're not. Honestly, I wouldn't say that we're not. Like, we don't have a formula for purpose drives profit in social. And I don't know that as Truist, we even have that metric for the company yet. We were close at SunTrust, but as we're building Truist, we're rethinking how we do that. And right now, we're so focused on helping people know about Truist. We're focused on awareness, total brand awareness, unaided, aided, and consideration. And then leaning into, leveraging purpose to help us design experiences and create products that walk the talk. And I think that measuring purpose, it's coming. I know it's coming. So look for some more information about that publicly, and maybe in Q1 2023. It's not easy to do. That code is not easy to crack.
So regularly with the, I would imagine, as a former SunTrust alum, and we worked together before in the past, I understand the purpose, and we all rallied behind it. And I was there when we were there. But I left before the merger, or with BB&T. How's the culture blending between the two companies? I mean, you hear nightmares from other companies, kind of like, the merger acquisition and yada, yada, yada. How was that with you guys?
I think we're very fortunate to have had two companies that had so much in common before we came together. And actually, those similarities, those things we had in common were the drivers of the merger between our two CEOs. So I think that the journey that we've been on as Truist, I mean, of course, it's not perfect. No merger ever is, right? But we're in a really good place. I mean, and our executive leadership team has done an incredible job setting the foundation for defining the purpose and defining our values, and then making sure that that's a part of everything we see and do every day. I mean, when we log on our computers, and this is probably not uncommon, but it's right there. You're seeing it when when you're in meetings, people are talking about it. It's a sea of purple on my LinkedIn feed. Teammates are really embracing social media, and that to us is it's a measure of are we doing this well, right? Like when you see teammates as brand ambassadors and you don't have a formal brand ambassador program telling them to go post on social, like you kind of intuitively are, like something's working here, something's going well. We still have a long journey ahead of us. I mean, merger culture changes can take many years, and building a brand takes many years. But I feel like, and coming from the Heritage Company, Ashley and you both, SunTrust alum, it's a big change, but there's still so many things that still feel.
So I actually have a question before we break for networking real quick. I love the Jessica Moore campaign. I don't know if that's what the whole campaign's called, the Born to Care campaign. I'm not sure what you guys call it. If you haven't, I'm sure you have. Young girl with her fun side ponytail, looks very 80s, rescues a kid from a water in the sidewalk. Car's driving by, he's about to get doused, and very funny. And then she goes along to become an employee of Truist who cares. So I got that. The message hit me appropriately. I find a lot like great affinity for the way that the campaign has extensions and showing other employees and fun adaptations of that. And I'm curious to know how we talk about not lifting and shifting the commercial to your social channels, but in keeping the thread of care for your employees and knowing that people don't love to go interact with people at a bank, and they don't love to talk to the people behind the counter because it's kind of a go for now. Like you need to go there and you might have to wait a long time. How has that campaign helped to shift the perception for customers for your business and for their experience with your customer service?
Thank you for bringing that up. We're real proud of that work. There are a couple of different chapters of that. There's Meet Riley, there's a few different stories that we've created in that theme. We call it Forever Care. It is Born to Care. We have Born to Care messaging, and that was a sort of our launch. Was these two companies have come together, and our teammates were born to care. And then that first spot was resonating so well that we said, let's do more, and we're going to shift to Forever Care, because that's what we want our teammates to experience when we talk about these spots, right? These video stories. And so they've resonated really well. We've gotten a lot of really good insights around the performance of these stories. And, you know, I think the other piece of it is teammates though, right? Because these are teammates, these are stories about teammates and the lives of teammates. And so of course we care about the customer, the client, the prospect, but we also have 55,000 teammates who we're trying to inspire. And so these are stories, they're real stories of real teammates that we've sourced and brought to life through this. So I think it's two things. Yes, it's resonating out in the world with our consumer audience, but it's also resonating with our teammates and giving them something to really to lean into and think about, like, oh yeah, in my life this happened to me, and now I'm like really reflecting on that and kind of getting some insights around myself and why I do the things I do today and why and how I show care when I'm at work. Which is your question?
That's a very nice note to end on. So thank you both so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Thank